בעזרת השם נעשה ונצליח והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. וידבר אלוהים אל משה ויאמר אליו, אני אדוני. There is a very famous question that a lot of the Mefarshim ask. How come that the Parsha start with the word Elohim and it end up with the word Adonai? And many of the Mefarshim ask that question to understand why does it start like this. So first of all, the first thing that we have to understand, what does it mean Elohim? And what does it mean Amonai? So Hazal, in the Gemara Masechet Brachot, Daf Samech Amud Bet, that means page 60, folio 2, there Hazal explained that wherever the word Elohim mentioned, referring to the character trait of HaKadosh Baruch Hu as judgment. And wherever it's mentioned Amonai, Yudke Vavke, referring to the character trait of mercy. That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu have two different characters that he treat human beings. One of them is mercy and compassion, and one of them is Midat Adin, that call judgment. Rashi HaKadosh say, you know why does it start like this? He read, Vayidaber Elohim el Moshe, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke very strongly, very harshly to Moshe Rabbeinu. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu moved to the character trait of mercy and compassion. We have to understand why. Many of the Mefarshim that ask that question explain. And they say that Moshe Rabbeinu in a previous parsha come and complain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that since he sent them to Pharaoh to release the Jewish people from slavery, the condition of the Jewish people actually got worse. And Pharaoh decided now that he's not going to give them any more straw, that they're now obligated to go and find straw and to cut it, and with that they're going to build. So, say Moshe Rabbeinu complained to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that since he gone to Pharaoh, the condition got worse. But wait a minute, there is a question that's been asked. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them very clearly that Pharaoh not going to listen to him. So why did Moshe Rabbeinu was complaining? So Rashi HaKadosh and many of the other commentaries say that number one, from here you learn that because Moshe Rabbeinu spoke to HaKadosh Baruch Hu with a complaint, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to him with Midat Adin. Midat Adin is the character trait of judgment. And Rabbi Chaim de la Rosa, that born in Jerusalem 272 years ago, plus minus, he wrote the book Torat Hacham. And in his book Torat Hacham, he explained something extraordinary. And he said like this, he said that we have to understand, it's true that the slavery got worse, but that it got worse, that was, in a matter of fact, the character trait of compassion and mercy on Am Yisrael. And what is it? Because by that the slavery got worse, that what brought the redemption closer. I see other explanation that Chazal bring, and they say like this: by that Pharaoh hardened his heart and make the slavery even worse, okay? That helped the Jewish people to shorten the years of slavery. What's happened? That we know that the Jewish people are supposed to be in slavery for 400 years. By that Pharaoh make the slavery harden, make the life worse. ויעבידו מצרים את בני ישראל בעבודה קשה ובפרך. That means by that they make the life misery and hard work. That's shorten the slavery from 400 to 210 years. So from here we see why is the Parsha started with the character trait of judgment and then moved to the character trait of mercy and compassion. To teach us that whatever Kadosh Baruch Hu do, even though that's compassion, even though that sounds to us like hard and a judgment, in the end, it's always for the benefit of us. That means, nachon that it was harsh on them, nachon that it was hard, now that they have to collect straw, to cut it, to plane it, to make it ready, with all of that, that was hard. That's what makes the redemption come closer, number one. Number two, make the year of slavery shorten. And now we can understand why it starts with the character trait of judgment and then move to the character trait of mercy and compassion. Let's move to verse 30 in chapter 6. And here we say that Moshe Rabbeinu says something very interesting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. ויאמר משה לפני אדוני, הן אני ערה לשפתיים, ואיך ישמע אליי פרעה. Here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he stumbled, that he actually mumbled, he can't speak well. How can Pharaoh will listen to it? And Hazal tell us something extraordinary. Hazal tell us in the Gemara Masechet Megillah, in page 14, folio 1, Yud Daled Amud Aleph, that when Moshe Rabbeinu born, the house that he born got completely lighted. That means when he born, the house was full of light. So the Mefarshim ask, in that case, how can it be that Moshe Rabbeinu becomes stuttered? What make Moshe Rabbeinu become stuttered? So to understand that, we have to go to Midrash Yalkut Shimoni on Sefer Shmot, and there it said that Moshe Rabbeinu grown up in the house of Pharaoh. As we all know that when Moshe Rabbeinu was a young boy, the daughter of Pharaoh, Batya, found them in a Nile and brought them to his house. And when Moshe Rabbeinu was a young boy, Pharaoh put him on his lap and used to play with him. And what happened? One day, Moshe Rabbeinu took the crown of the head of Pharaoh and threw it on the ground. And immediately Pharaoh was worried and very suspicious. So Pharaoh had 3 advisors. One of them was Yitro. And he asked Yitro, what should he do? Yitro says, a little boy, there's nothing to worry about it, just ignore it. Eov suggests that they should bring 2 jars, one with gold and silver and good stone, and on the other jar they're going to bring fire. And if Moshe Rabbeinu will touch the fire, we'll know that he didn't have any meaning. And if he'll touch the gold, they'll know that he won the crown, the gold. The third advisor, that was Bilam HaRasha, he suggested immediately to kill Moshe Rabbeinu. And why am I saying it? Because the Gemara in Masechet Sota, in Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet, that means page 12, folio 2 in Masechet Sota, Yitro asked his advisor what to do. Because the advisor told him that there is a man that's going to redeem Bnei Israel from slavery, and he's going to be from the palace. And when Moshe Rabbeinu threw the crown of Pharaoh on the floor, that's what made Pharaoh worried. So what they done? They listened to what Eov suggested, Eov's job, to bring 2 jars. And one of them is gold and stone and jewelry, and the other one is fire. And Moshe Rabbeinu, Hazal said there in a midrash, that actually he put his hand towards the gold and the jar and the good stone. But the angel Gabriel came and moved his hand from the gold, the plate of gold, to the plate of fire, and Moshe Rabbeinu actually burned his hand, and to cool down his finger, he put it on his mouth, and that's what caused Moshe Rabbeinu to become stuttered. Now we understand why. But the Mefarshim continue and ask a very valid question. The Mefarshim ask, how come that a man like Moshe Rabbeinu, that was the perfect man on earth, have to become a stuttered person? So I'm going to bring two different opinions from the commentaries to explain why Moshe Rabbeinu have to be stuttered. So the first one comes from Rabbi Mordechai Kohen. Rabbi Mordechai Kohen lived in the 16th century, and he wrote the book Siftei Kohen on the Torah. That means Siftei Kohen, that it's a commentary on the Torah. And he said like this. And he said that according to what it said in the Gemara in Masechet Sota in page 12, folio 2. And he said that when Moshe Rabbeinu being took to the house of Pharaoh, he was a little boy. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have a nurse to nurse him. That means that he needed a nurse to breastfeed him. And what they done, they brought a Gentile woman to breastfeed Moshe. And Moshe Rabbeinu refused to be breastfed from those Gentile women. But unfortunately, few drops of non-Halav Israel, that means a Gentile woman milk, drop in his mouth. And because Moshe Rabbeinu was going to speak to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we saw in the burning bush, we saw later on in Ma'amad Har Sinai, when we received the Torah, say HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he have to purify that mouth. So what is it done? They done what we call it a ga'ala. Say Rabbi Mordechai Kohen. By that he put his finger in his mouth, he burned all of those unkosher milk. Other opinion of Deran is Rabbeinu Nisim, Ben Reuven Girondi. He born 703 years ago. He born in the city of Barcelona in Spain. And he said, you know why Moshe Rabbeinu have to be a person that started heavy talking? And he explained like this, that because, so those that don't believe, those people, they are non-believers, cannot say, you know why did Pharaoh release the Jewish people from slavery? Because he was a smooth talker, a nice and sweet talker, that he managed to convince Pharaoh and his advisor to release them from Egypt. So that come to contradict that those non-believers are going to say it. Because all of the idea of the exodus of Mitzrayim was to show the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his control and everything on earth. So by that Moshe was stuttered, they cannot say that Pharaoh and his advisor released Bnei Israel from slavery because he managed to convince them. So from here we see why did Moshe Rabbeinu also have to be stuttered. Let's move on to verse 7. In chapter 7, verse 11. There the Torah tells us something very interesting. There the Torah tells us like this. ויקרא גם פרעה לחכמים ולמחשבים ויעשו גם הם חרטומי מצרים בלעתיהם כן. Here the Torah tells us that the wizard, the witchcrafters, the advisors of Pharaoh, also done with the magic what Moshe and Aaron managed to do. So the question that the Gaon Hida is Rabbi Haim Yosef David Azulai. He born in Jerusalem 294 years ago. And he said like this, from this verse you see something very interesting. You see that the witchcrafters and the wizard only can add harm and pain and sorrow to the world. Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, when they gone to Pharaoh to show the incredible sign, what did Paro say? Paro said, no, I can do the same. You made blood, I will add the blood to the world. So the Mefarshim asked, where is the blood come from? So the Mefarshim explained that the Egyptian bought a glass of water for Moshe Rabbeinu, and that glass turned to water, and now they can do the same kind of tricks. The only difference is that they add up more sorrow and more harm to the world. And the same was with the frog. Moshe Rabbeinu created frogs, they brought more frogs. The only difference is that Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron, when they created the crocodiles, as you see, what's happened in the end? HaKadosh Baruch Hu showed the world that the tzaddikim actually bringing goodness to the world. And what was it? By that the alligator of Pharaoh, that the witchcrafting created, when when Aaron put his stick and he eaten all of those sticks, that's me, he eaten all of those crocodiles, to tell you that the chokhmah is to bring peace. Not only to bring peace, to create harmony in the world. Instead, those wizards, those witchcrafters, those sorcerers, what did they brought? More pain and agony. They couldn't take it. But the stick of Aaron, when he swallowed all the other sticks, that means get rid of all the crocodile. And that's what the Torah come to teach us. The Torah come to teach us something very important. That the tzaddikim bringing peace to the world. When the wicked only bring more sorrow and grief and agony to the world. And that's why the Torah tells us, Vayasu gam hem, how to men Mitzrayim bela'atehem. In chapter 8, verse 3, here we're going to speak about the plague of the frog, and here we see something very interesting. Here we see that the Torah tells us, "Vayasu החרטומים חן בלהטיהם, ויעלו הצפרדעים על כל ארץ מצרים." Here the Torah tells us that the wizard created also frog, the same like Aaron created, but the only difference that the frog that the Egyptian made was only in Egypt. And the question becomes, obviously in Egypt, where else if not in Egypt? Why does the Torah tell us specifically על ארץ מצרים, ויעלו הצפרדעים על ארץ מצרים? And the frog that been created by the wizard, by the witchcrafters, there was only in Egypt. Where else can it be? So I'm going to bring two different commentaries. Why is that? The first commentary that I'm going to bring, it will bring from Rabbi Haim Tirer. Rabbi Haim Tirer, born in Galicia 277 years ago, and he wrote a book that's called Be'er Maim Haim, a well of fresh water, or life water, that's the right translation. And in his commentary on that verse, he explained that the frog that been created by Aharon HaKohen, not only that there was on the land of Egypt, there was everywhere. When I say everywhere, inside the closet, inside the stove, inside the furnace, everywhere. Because it was a command from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the entire land of Egypt will be frogs. Inside the stove, inside the oven, wherever you want, wherever you gone was frog. When the frog that the sorcerers and the witchcrafters created was only in the land. Other explanation that brought by our sages and the Midrash mentioned that why the Torah mentioned on the land of Egypt. So Hazal explained like this, and many of the commentaries. And they say that during the plagues was a war between Egypt and the land of Cush. And the war was regarding territories. By that the frog that been created by Moshe Rabbeinu and the frog that created by the witchcrafters and the wizards and the sorceries, none of those wizards gone over the boundary of Egypt to tell us. By that was a miracle by himself that what finished the war between Cush, the land of Cush, to Egypt. That's me. Where the frog was, they knew exactly where's the boundary of Eretz Mitzrayim. And Egypt couldn't contradict anything because the frog didn't extend. So therefore, the Torah come and tell us something extraordinary. Vaya'alu atzfarde'im al Eretz Mitzrayim. And the frog gone up to Egypt, that none of these frogs extend the boundaries of the land of Egypt. Now we can understand why the Torah tell us specifically and put an emphasis, why is it mentioned that the frog gone up on the land of Egypt. In chapter 9, verse 7, it says something very interesting. And it says that in verse 7, chapter 9, verse 7, here we see regarding the plague of Dever. And what's happening there? Let's read it and then I will explain. וישלח פרעה, והנה לא מת ממקנה ישראל עד אחד. ויכבד לב פרעה, ולא שילח את העם. The Torah tells us that when the plague of Dever come, that ולא מת עד אחד מהם. And the Gaon Mevilna explains something extraordinary. The Gaon Mevilna tells us, why does the Torah have to repeat? Again, because in verse 6, say already that none is dead. But the Gaon Mevilna explained differently. Who was the Gaon Mevilna? The Gaon Mevilna was Rabbi Eliyahu ben Shlomo. He born 301 years ago. Although there is different opinion if he born in Vilna or he born in Galicia. These two different opinions. Some of the opinions say that the Gaon born in Vilna. Some of the other opinions say no, he born in Galicia. Whatever it may be, we still have the Gaon Vilna that wrote commentary on the verse. And today, Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm going to try to explain what he said. And he said like that. By that the Torah come and tell us, לא מת ממקנה ישראל עד אחד, that only one person he's heard die on the plague of Dever. What does it mean? To teach us that was one man that his sheep, his herd, been suffered in kill. And he said, who that man was, that was the son of the Israelite woman that she'd been raped by the Egyptian. And the Ramban, the Nachmanite, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, born 823 years ago in a city of Catalonia in Spain, where there is now the referendum, the problem with the referendum. And he said that he heard from the scholar person of France, that's mean the wisdom sages of France, that they say that before Bnei Israel received the Torah, a child that born to a Jewish mother from a Gentile considered as a Gentile and not considered as an Israelite. So, explain the Gaon Milvina. From here we see that that person that is heard die wasn't Israelite, wasn't from Bnei Israel. And because he wasn't from Bnei Israel, and his father was an Egyptian, and he considered non-Jews, therefore, in Makat Dever, from his herd, died. Some of his cattle, or many of his cattle, died in Makat Dever. And Hazal continues and says, so if you look at the Pasuk, and then what it says, ויכבד לב פרעה ולא שילח את העם. That's what make Pharaoh's heart even harder. Because he said, you see, it's not just from the Egyptian animal that died, also one Israelite, his animal died. But he didn't understand that that man that his herd died considered as a Gentile and not an Israelite. So now we can understand the verse when it says, והנה לא מת. Okay? ממקנה ישראל עד אחד. That not from the herd of Bnei Israel, only one person had his herd that died. Let's continue to verse 30, and with that we're going to conclude. And here we see something very interesting that Moshe Rabbeinu said to Pharaoh. And look what Moshe Rabbeinu said. ואתה ועבדיך ידעתי כי טרם תראון מפני אדוני אלוהים. Here we see that Moshe Rabbeinu said to Pharaoh that him and his advisor actually have no respect and not afraid from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we have to understand why did Moshe Rabbeinu say that to Pharaoh? What is it, something new? So the question is that we have to understand why did Moshe Rabbeinu say that. And the Mefarshim explain that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished the wicked people, we have to understand why. Because after all, he sent them to be strong on Bnei Israel. He make everything work. He's the God that's in charge. So how can it be that if HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent the Egyptian to harm the Jewish people, to put them through slavery, he punished them? So the Mefarshim explains something extraordinary, and that will help us to understand why Moshe Rabbeinu said to Pharaoh and his advisor that they have no fear of heaven. And the Mefarshim explain like this. The Mefarshim say that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he said that, he knew what he said. Because Hazal explained that when a goy been sent to do harm, they take extra measure to harm the Jewish people. That means they go the extra mile to do worse. And where do we see it? That the Jewish people have been sent to slavery for 400 years. But it doesn't mean that the Egyptians have to put us through hard work. Not only through hard work, to make our life misery, to kill the firstborn of every Jew. By that they done that, they go on the extra mile. And every person, every generation, every leader that was, and he ended disappear. Because why? Because they enjoying to make the life of a Jewish people suffer more. That means HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them to put us to slavery or to keep us. But doesn't mean that we have to take the extra measure, to go the extra mile and to make our life misery. So come Moshe Rabbeinu and said to Paro, you see, נכון that you've been saying by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it doesn't mean that you and your nation should be so harsh on Bnei Israel, to take the extra measure and to be so cruel and so hard and to harm the Jewish people. You should put us in slavery, but not to harm us and to kill us. That's what it means. Now we can understand what Moshe Rabbeinu, when he said to Pharaoh and his advisor that they don't have the fear from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They don't have the fear of heaven on them, and they go the extra mile to hit us. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take the extra mile to get rid of all of those wicked people, all Sonei Israel, and then when he gets rid of them, he'll send us Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mehera b'yameinu, amen ken yehi ratzon.